Oh, here's Jeff. Jeff is here.
Hey. I can't see him. I did it on my app this time.
Hello?
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, can you give me a couple seconds? I'll be right with you.
Okay.
Cool. You guys are going to watch me unload my groceries and cook dinner, so I'm really excited.
It's only 4 of us right now.
Oh, come on. Wait, Jess, how many citations did you do for the annotated bibliography?
2.
You did, oh my gosh, I did all 6. I thought we were supposed to do 6.
No, you're supposed to do 2, and then next to this week is another 2, and then the third one, remember, it's another 2. It's 6 on total.
I mean, at least I guess I'm done, but that's stupid.
Dang, lucky.
I mean, not lucky. I definitely spent an hour doing that.
No, I was like, it took me 15 minutes. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, no, it's not just all 6 of them, but I mean, I guess it's done, so.
Wow. You a smarty pants. You're an overachiever.
Well, I know, seriously.
All right, I'm back.
Hey.
Hello, everybody. I see Dr. Burger. I like that. Cool. All right, so let's get down to business. First off, I want to talk. Oh, record. Oh, it's already recording. Good.
You're recording.
Okay. First thing I want to talk about is the researcher's philosophy. Some of you, those of you who have turned it in. Okay. You are selling yourself to a committee. You're not selling your topic. You're selling yourself like it's a job interview. If you cannot, in a qualitative, when you go to your IRB, if you have a qualitative, you decide that you're gonna go halfway on any of this stuff, they're just gonna send it back to you. Okay? You don't know who you're getting. If I get hired, you could get me. You could have Dr. Stanton. You could have anybody that they put on that committee. A lot of times you won't know who that person is. All you're going to do is get back and say, fix this, and fix this. They're not going to tell you how to do it. Now, if you have your mentor is working with you, your mentor might drive you in the right direction. I have 4 mentees in the class this time. When they get their stuff back, they call me and I go over what they need and they get it going. Because no matter what happens, each person is different. They may want something that someone else doesn't want, or something that's not even mentioned because it's needed to show. So if you have a topic of X, Y, and Z, and you bring me stuff, you send in stuff that's only got X and Y, even though you still want to talk about Z, they're going to send it back. When you get to the researcher's philosophy, if you can't sell yourself that you understand the topic well enough and understand what you need to do, it's going to come back to you, get it right. That's why a lot of you are getting it back. I don't want to know about the topic. I don't care about the topic. You have a purpose statement. You have a research question. You have your lit review, which you're not, of course, not doing. Your researcher's philosophy is all about you, period. What are your qualifications to look at this topic? So if you write, I have never done this, but I really want to do it, it'll never pass. It's got to be something that you care about, something you've lived through and want to find out more about. That's why it's called a phenomenon. Or it's on the other end of the spectrum, and it's something that you know about, but this portion you don't know, and it kind of the two cogs come together to make that topic work. So if you say X and Y and you in X, Y, and Z, and then you turn around and when you go to write your researcher's philosophy, you can't show that it's on this topic and exactly like this topic and that. So those of you that are getting stuff back and you keep getting it back, you're talking about the topic and everything else. No one cares. It's all about you the researcher, what you're bringing to the table. How does it work? What does it do? What does it do? What will this really do for you? So if you come vague and say, okay, my name is Jeff and I like this topic because I've seen it happen a couple times and this and that. No, you must be very concise and you must say what you mean and mean what you say. So if it's something you have lived through, you got to tell us about it. Now, you don't have to go so deep, but examples of what you've gone through to bring you to the point where you're ready to ask these questions and it makes sense, because the researcher's philosophy, because you are an instrument, goes together with your questions. So when they look at this and they look at your actual questions that you're writing, do they make sense or are you just talking gibberish? And they'll send it back. They'll keep sending it back. They don't care if it doesn't ever pass. The reason why is because you could be sued. They could be sued. The school can be sued. So this is kind of like a legal document that you're putting together that is necessary to protect you and protect your participants from harm. Why do you say you? Well, if you ask questions that are off base and not a part of it, the school's not liable. You are. No offense, but if you're asking questions that are really personal and somebody jumps off a building, which has happened before, then basically at that point, you're liable and can be sued for it. So it's real important that you understand. I'm trying to make my point that you guys can't gloss over anything. I'm not going to let you gloss over anything. So those of you that keep getting it back, you got to look at it and say, are you talking about how the topic works and everything else? Those are for other sections of the paper. This is all about what you bring to the table. Be concise. Talk about what you know. Talk about everything that you need from what it did for you. So let's say, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's say I want to do a study on, I want to study professors who teach basically the experiences of college professors and students and let's say freshman students. Okay, I've had plenty of freshman students that I would be able to talk about the challenges that I have with freshman students, the what do you call them? The positives with with those, and go through that. I would be able to write two to three paragraphs breaking down each of the sections and being able to pull them all together. So when it's done, sometimes even in one paragraph, but it's got to be concise, and the reader has to be engaged to say, okay, this person, it can be an instrument. It's no different than trying to take a Phillips screwdriver, and jam it into a straight screwdriver and making it work. That's not what we're looking for. It should be very smooth, and it should be, when you're done, you should say, I would get hired. This is something it's relatively easy and right straightforward. If you can't tell me why you really want this and what it will do for you and what experiences you've had in it, then your topic is not yours. In a qualitative study, you have to own the topic. You own it by understanding that you've kind of been through this before, and then you're going to be able to turn around and flip back and be able to when you're discussing with somebody, be believable. Because if you're not believable in your interview, when you go to do your interviews are going to be horrible. You won't get enough data, and you'll be toast. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on the researcher's philosophy? No questions? All right, we're going to move on. So I got a PowerPoint for tonight. I will post it after class tonight. Let's see, slideshow, play from start. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can see methodology on your screen. Bingo. Okay, so we started this last week just a little bit. We're going to get into it in detail here. It's real important that you get through this and understand it, okay? The methodology and the qualitative is almost in the same lines as the quantitative side, but you have got to understand the steps that go along with it. Everything in here, if you follow the steps that I put in here, you have absolutely no problem moving on, getting this written, okay? Remember, 90% of the stuff that you need for this section is in the Percy article, okay? Reason for the methodology section. The methodology section of research answers 2 questions. How was the data collected or generated, and how was it analyzed? It's a little deeper than that, but that's the basic questions. Okay, this is what should be all in your methodology section, okay? Data obtained. How are you going to obtain your data? Okay, what does that mean? How am I going to recruit my participants again? Let's see, how am I going to recruit them? What methods am I going to recruit them? Am I going to just talk to people? Am I going to just go through and sitting there until I get the people? Remember, the key thing here on the how the data is brought up is simple. It's all about either purposeful sampling or snowball sampling. If you remember what snowball sampling is, that's where you let's see, I come to you and I ask you to do my interviews. And what happens is that when that happens, I say, hey, is there somebody else that you know that might be really good at this? That's what snowball is. It's like one person feeds off the next person, okay? The next one is purposeful, and that's basically the same thing, kind of like when we did in the qualitative, but purposeful means that they must have the exact qualities that we're looking for. Both sets have to have qualifications. Either way. So, I mean, in purposeful, it's straight up. Do you meet the criteria to do this? If you do, then we can hand out the consent form, we can get things started, and we can do our interview. If not, okay, if not, then what happens is that you can't use them. You can't fake it, because it'll be known when you do your data. It will mess up your data terribly, because you won't get answers that even come close to anybody else. So like I had 5 people on my dissertation that really wanted to be a part of it, but they'd only been a coach for 5 years. When I've got people with 30, 29, 28, 27, and 30 years experience, somebody with 5 years experience is not even going to come close to what those other guys have experienced through their career. Okay? So it's very, very systematic. Okay, reasons for the procedure or technique. Okay, that goes back to the same thing of you've got to go out there and research what general qualitative is. Where do you go? You go to your Percy article. Everything you need is in your Percy article. You also need to talk about the interview process. That you have to go to the internet and do an internet search for a scholarly journal article that talks about interviews, or a textbook such as Patton or your Creswell textbook. Okay, those things that are already out there, and for Creswell's free. So you can go out there, you get those. You need to talk about interviews. You need to talk about interviews and the general qualitative. All that information is in your Percy article. Consistency of participant recruitment and data collection. You're going to talk about how you're going to recruit them, how you're going to do your data collection. Okay, what does that mean? From start to finish, okay? How you're going to recruit them, where you plan to recruit them from, Southern California Christian College for most of you, or whatever it is. Then you're going to talk about the data collection. How are you going to do that? Okay, if you're doing interviews, you're going to, once qualified, you're going to give them the consent form, to sign the consent form. Then you move on to the next step. You're going to go through you're going to do your interview, and at the end, you're going to say thank you. Okay? All right. Now, The method must be appropriate to fulfilling the overall aims of the study. Okay. Textbooks will tell you that it's between 10 and 15 people that you have to have. Okay. That would be your sample size for everybody, 10 to 15. Okay. Why 10 to 15? Because I will tell you, when you get to 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you're going to start to see this. If your participants are what they say they are and they're qualified, they're pretty much going to really start to say the same thing. 15, that's a lot of work. 10 or 11, that's not as much work, but it's still a lot. Okay. The next step, you need to talk about generalization. Okay. Generalization is something you must look up on the internet, either in a scholarly journal article or a research methods textbook, maybe let's say in the last 5 years, that talks about generalization. This is the same thing as validity and reliability, because you cannot, in a quantitative study, you can generalize that to a larger population. Okay? You can point to it. Here, you can't really generalize it to a larger population. So you talk about generalization and things. I want to talk about problems that may arise. Okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Replication. This is not part of it. You have to really talk about the replication. Bottom line is, when this is all done, when this whole section is done, I should be able to pick your paper up. I should be able to go out and, like a good recipe, start at the very beginning and go very bottom and do the same exact thing. Qualify the same people, do this. So let's say I'm here in California. Well, I go to Christian colleges in New York and I do the same thing. Do we have the same ideals, or when you're done, the phenomenon is different? Either way is good, but to do that, you must be able to, that's what a good methodology section is. It's totally replicatable. I can pick it up, I can do the same study over and over again, and I'm going to get basically the same results except for my participants. Okay? And then procedure. All of this really goes to procedure, and you're going to talk about little bits as terms of sample size and everything else, but your procedure has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? This is exactly what I'm going to do. Because remember, this is you're selling this to a committee again. If you come up and say, well, I'm going to send out the consent form, and then I'm going to do the interview, and then I'm going to, there's other steps in there. It's every single step. You got to talk about how you're going in your technique. You're going to talk about how you're going to do it. How would you do an interview? I'm going to use a tape recorder to tape, a digital tape recorder to take them. Okay? And I'll get into that in a little while. All right. Introduce your methodology. What's your methodology? General qualitative inquiry. Percy, like here. You see it, I've already got it set up for you. All you got to do is copy and paste. Okay? Define and tell your reader why. I gotta move this. Define and tell the reader why it is the best for your study. Why is general qualitative methodology the best? Okay? You will, that stuff is in the Percy article. Find it. How does it work? Why does it work for what we're doing? It's all right there in the beginning of that article and first couple sections of that article. We've already kind of talked about it, so if you remember, you're going to get it. Participant recruitment, where, how, qualifications, sample size. You always want to say that your sample size will be 10 to 15 or until saturation. Because you can go onto the library and find things where they've talked to only 5 people. They have everything they need, they analyze the data, and they move on. Again, it's written like a recipe. Data collection. Why do you interview? See, these are titles. All these right here are titles. Participant recruitment should be one title. Write that section. Data collection. Why use an interview process? What tools will you use? Tape recorder, taking notes. It's always going to be a tape recorder. You have to record it. But if you're going to take notes, you got to tell them that you're going to take notes. Okay? Where will you perform the interview? Okay? Are you going to schedule a room somewhere, or are you just going to find a quiet place to sit down and do it, or at somebody's office, whatever it is, okay? You're going to talk about your consent form just like you did. In that consent form, you're going to say that a consent form will be handed out, okay? And they will have time to read it and then you're going to have your interview guide. Now that is your questions, okay? This section is where your questions go. We'll come back to questions at the end because you need to start working on them. Now, last thing is data analysis. This is all outlined in Percy, okay? So, can you see Percy? Okay. When you get to here, and in your article that I gave you guys, it's already taken out. Where is it? The last one. No. What is it? You're using a thematic analysis with constant comparison. You need to open up your analysis with a synopsis of what it is, okay? Understanding what it is. Then you cannot copy and paste this. That is plagiarism. Everything in this needs to be paraphrased, okay? This is for another night, but when you're working on your methodology this week, this is what you need. You don't have to understand it. You need to be able to paraphrase this and make sure you have all of them, okay? Because our next step is to go over how to. So what you're going to get. Somebody saying something?
Yeah. Well, what are you showing it to us? Because I can't see it. All I see is PowerPoint.
Hold on. I had asked if somebody saw it. All right. Can you see it now? Do you see Percy now? Yes, no? Okay. So let's go back. So thematic analysis with constant comparison. Here is, understand this paragraph right here. And then this is your step-by-step analysis all the way through, okay? You need to paraphrase it, okay? Give me your best effort on this. When we go over this in detail, you'll be able to hone it down and get it right, okay? Because I'm not going to go over it tonight. It's too much to go over tonight. It's one night, about an hour, to understand exactly how you do it, and then you're going to have a little project to understand it. So what I'm going to do this week is I'm going to send you one of my interviews, okay, or a portion of my interview. Then next week I'm going to give you the transcript from it, okay, so you can look at the transcript. We will next week go over how you analyze the data, because if you can go over and analyze the data together, we'll do it together, okay? You'll then understand how you get to the end result, okay? To give you just an idea, what happens is once you're done, you transcribe or listen to your interviews, okay? Listening is much harder because you got to go back over and over it. So I have 5 questions. I start with question 1. I have 10 participants answering question 1. I start with participant 1. I read it. I mark it up. I go to 2, read it, mark it up for special words. Same thing all the way through 10. Then I go back again, and I do the same thing again, and I'm looking for any quotes. Like, if I'm doing the preface, students are very eager to learn as freshmen their first couple weeks of class. Great quote. Okay? I circle those. I underline words, and I circle the other ones. When I'm done, I write all of those words down, and then I will then take all of those words and I'll look for patterns. So if I have 8 participants who are saying that all of their freshmen are eager to learn in the first 3 weeks, but the rest of the semester they don't do anything at all, but they use words like eager, I would mark eager, and I got a whole bunch of eagers, and I'm just going to mark them off. And in the understanding that this is different than quantitative. Quantitative, you pick your topics, you pick your themes, and then you write your questions to answer the themes. It's flipped the other way around. You write your questions, you listen to what they have to say and transcribe it, you mark them up, and you grab your themes from the answers. So this is real easy to do once you get the pattern and get it done. Okay? So what I want you to do again is I want you to go through and I want you to highlight the areas here. And then next week, after we go through the process, okay, of looking at these questions, you'll be able to go and say, okay, I'll be able to understand it if I have to do it. The next week, we'll talk about the actual what you have to do in a qualitative. Different than doing statistics where you just plug them in, get your answer, and be done. In some ways, it's easier to write because you're just going to talk about what the participants say. And then when you do your discussion, you just turn around and you synthesize all of that stuff together. Okay? So this article is extremely important. If you haven't been reading it, I keep telling you, you need to read it. The portions that you need to worry about are this one right here, differentiating general qualitative inquiry. And then down here is, and then the description of general qualitative inquiry. Okay? Does that kind of make sense? Are there any questions? All right, Michelle's group, unmute. Any questions?
So, wait. No. Mine's I'll email you my questions. It's different.
Yes, you need to email me questions. How are you doing on yours?
That's what I'm talking about, mine. Right now,
Good.
I'm trying to transcribe it and then like figure it out in my email. But pretty much it. And then still like finishing up on like review.
Okay. So yeah, just call me.
Call you? Okay.
Yeah, because I'll walk you through how to do this.
Okay, perfect.
It's very easy.
I'm gonna call.
Okay.
Okay, but sorry. Just going back to your themes. So you would write your themes in your methodology about
No, you have no themes.
No, but what your data was like. I'm getting a lot of people saying they love the Christian aspect. Okay, great. So is that a theme, the Christian aspect?
Yes. And then you're looking for any sub themes.
I know, but I put that in the methodology or put that.
Oh no. That's your results, darling.
Oh, okay.
This is all methodology. This is just methodology. Once the point you're at, you're getting ready to do your results and discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
So you just need to call me and I'll walk you through exactly how to do it, and then I'll show you exactly how to write it up.
Okay. And then, but the results in the discussion, the results is the words that I got in the discussions, like, the opposite, but like more wordy, right?
Well, the results are extremely, how do I put this? The results are extremely boring.
Oh, okay. Just straight.
It's like you're gonna introduce the theme. You're gonna introduce the theme. You're gonna kind of define it the way you see it, and then you're gonna put in the participant quotes. You move on to this either a sub theme or a new theme, and you do the same thing over and over again. When you're done, think of it this way: it's the same thing as a quantitative. So the write-ups you did,
yeah.
Short, sweet, to the point. Don't say anything other than what the definition is of that, and bam, you 2 or 3 quotes. Okay, and then you move on to the next one. You do the same thing for all of those, and then you synthesize it in your discussion.
Oh yes, synthesize. Okay, all right, I'll call you.
Okay, please. All right, anybody else in that group?
You guys have
No, we good.
All right, is that you, Peyton?
Yeah. Hey, I think so far I don't have any questions, but if I do, I'll call you. I haven't started the methodology at all.
That's fine.
But research philosophy, I'm good, right? After I
I
made my
think so.
revision. Okay, cool. Oh, and then so also for the annotated bibliography, I actually just did all 6. So do I just not?
Yeah, just cut them and put them in the other one so I can give you a grade.
Okay, cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Is that Kaylee? You have any questions?
As of right now, I don't have any questions. I think I still need to like redo the research philosophy and like make it less about my topic and more about me.
Exactly. Talk about your qualifications of why you're going to be great at this without saying it that way.
Got it.
Be a little more detailed in terms of the things that have happened to you and why. I really had to go into detail. Like I had to go, well, the primary researcher had 30 years experience working football games and watch the pregame ritual at school, la 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 la. And when it's done, it's done. Some of it's just really boring, redundant, and everything else. But it tells a story and it allows the people to make you believable. Okay. Who else? Did I miss anybody? Everybody good? All right. So it's real short and sweet tonight. I'm going to post this, whatchamacallit, PowerPoint in the room right now. So you have it. Use each of those titles of there as, just do them as sections. We'll put it together later. But right now, just do the sections that are on those PowerPoints and just do the best you can, and then get it to me as soon as possible so we can start working on it and get it right, okay? There'll be things that you'll miss, and that's okay. I'll just make note. You just got to get them in there. Remember, the Percy article is huge in this, okay? 90% of what you're going to do in this chapter is in here other than participants and everything else, okay? All right. Short evening. Have a good night. Get some work done. All right. Talk to you later. I'm going to try and post this video right now. Stop share. Night, guys.